Coming up on Valley View News, USC students protest after alleged sexual assault cases rise on campus. Plus, the FDA recommends the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. And the biggest Day of the Dead event was celebrated at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery last weekend.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Jeannie Rodriguez.
And I'm Elizabeth Medina in the Digital Media Center.
The Supreme Court heard oral arguments on the Texas abortion law on Monday. Last month, the court let the law stay in place. However, Monday's arguments focused on the wording in the Texas law. The fact that the court is taking oral arguments gives new hope for opponents and supporters of the Texas law. Many believe the Texas law already had a ripple effect across the nation. Some states that support a woman's right to choose say they're seeing patients come from Texas to get abortions. Planned Parenthood says their California clinics are seeing 2 to 3 patients a day from Texas. Valley View News asked people whether or not they knew if other states are being affected by the state Texas law.
I didn't know, but that doesn't surprise me. Because, I mean, abortions that aren't in clinics are definitely unsafe and could lead to death. And since we're in the state of California, you can get an abortion up to however many weeks. I didn't, but I've heard of this before as well. I mean, before, when abortions were only legal in such states, people would move over to one place or another to get them. Again, it's inevitable. You can't do anything about it.
During the Monday oral arguments, the justices limited parties to discussing procedural issues. The arguments against the Texas ban were prepared only 10 days after the Supreme Court decided it would listen to oral arguments in person. This case is expected to have major implications for Roe v. Wade. The court takes on another Roe v. Wade case in December when it looks at Mississippi's ban on abortion after 15 weeks.
The FDA voted in favor of giving emergency authorization to Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for use in children ages 5 through 11. The FDA's COVID-19 Advisory Committee thinks the benefits outweigh the risks. Critics say the decision was based on just a few studies. Trials show a dose that's 1/3 of an adult dose is enough to protect children against the virus. Children in this age group make up more than 10% of reported COVID cases nationwide, while they make up almost 9% of the population. The FDA recommendation will be reviewed by a CDC panel this week.
Los Angeles City workers now have until December 18th to get vaccinated. Last week, the LA City Council voted for the extension. Those not vaccinated must take COVID-19 tests twice a week at a cost of $65 each. The cost will come directly from their paychecks. Those not vaccinated by mid-December could face dismissal. People with medical or religious exemptions must be tested twice a week, and they may be reimbursed for the costs.
A new study shows that an antidepressant can reduce the need for hospitalizations for some high-risk adults with COVID-19. The study was part of an effort to find existing drugs that could treat coronavirus. Researchers at McMaster's University conducted tests by giving patients a pill used for depression and obsessive-compulsive disorder. The pill would cost $4 for the course of a treatment. It was tested on 1,500 Brazilians who had the virus and were at risk of severe illness. Researchers still aren't sure what the exact dose should be per patient.
Many USC students marched against alleged sexual assault cases that came to light after several students came forward to report them. Valley View's Catherine Hernandez has more.
Silence is compliance! USC is under fire after 6 separate reports were filed, alleging that students had been sexually assaulted and drugged while attending parties at Sigma Nu within the last month. USC students came together to march in solidarity with the victims who have come forward.
Personally, I am a victim of sexual assault. I know many women who are as well. It's an issue that I'm hugely passionate about, and when I see it happening at my school, that's something that's scary, that's something that's concerning.
USC's Department of Public Safety alerted staff and students about the incident. President Carol Folt provided students with resources. Catherine Ames, a USC student, says sympathy does not equate to action.
And there was very little accountability on Greek life as an institution that supports violence against women and violence against people in general.
Students are hopeful their chants will encourage USC administration to act and hold perpetrators of sexual violence accountable for their actions. USC's student government senator Russell Augustine expresses his concern.
And if this ever reaches an institutional level, I hope this shows that students will stand in support of those affected. And this is an issue that we will not let go until proper justice is addressed.
With this peaceful protest, USC students hope to make a change. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Catherine Hernandez.
The Justice Department is considering paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to migrant families separated at the border during the President Trump administration. Apparently, the plan could pay each person around $450,000, but that number isn't confirmed by the government. Lawyers for the separated families say no amount of money can compensate for the suffering they went through. They're seeking permanent legal status for the families along with compensation for psychological damage suffered.
Los Angeles just started the nation's biggest guaranteed income pilot program. It's called Big Leap, which stands for Basic Income Guaranteed Los Angeles Economic Assistance Pilot. 3,200 households will get $1,000 a month. They can get access to the money by using special debit cards, which will be loaded monthly. There are no restrictions on what they can buy. Recipients must live in LA at or below the poverty level with dependent children. They also must have financial or medical problems related to COVID-19. Many small businesses in LA may be able to get about $5,000 each to deal with problems set on by the pandemic. It's called the Comeback Checks Grant Program. $25 million for the program comes from the federal government's American Rescue Plan. Businesses can apply to get money through November 2nd. They can use it for payroll, covering benefits, and many maintenance costs. Southwest Airlines is investigating an incident where a pilot allegedly stated "Let's go Brandon" over the intercom during a flight. An Associated Press reporter on board reported that the pilot used the phrase at the end of his greetings to passengers. The phrase is popular with some conservatives as a way to slander the president. Southwest said it doesn't tolerate employees sharing their opinions while working. They also added the pilot's views shouldn't be interpreted as representing the company's. The former school safety officer who fatally shot 18-year-old Mona Rodriguez was charged with murder. LA County District Attorney George Gascon charged Eddie Gonzalez last week. Gonzalez made his first court appearance last Friday. The judge ordered that he remain in jail on a $2 million bail. He's to be arraigned on December 8th. In September, Rodriguez was shot by Gonzalez as she left a parking lot where she and another girl were fighting. Rodriguez was a passenger in a moving car when she was shot in the head. She died a week later. If convicted, Gonzalez faces 15 years to life in prison. President Biden spoke at the United Nations Climate Change Summit on Monday and apologized for environmental actions taken by former President Trump. He said that time was running out for nations to reach their goals to help limit global warming.
This is the decade that will determine the answer, this decade. The science is clear. We only have a brief window left before us to raise our ambitions and to meet the task.
Biden's $555 billion climate spending plan is the centerpiece of his administration's legislative package. Chinese leader Xi Jinping, president of the world's largest greenhouse gas polluter, didn't show up for the summit. More to come on Valley View News. Facebook changes its company name, and supporters of small businesses came together to celebrate Larchmont Boulevard's centennial birthday. Stay with us.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? And now she's like, yeah! you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Let's go to Malik Patterson in Studio B with some international news.
Leaders of the G20 nations met in Rome last week seeking agreements on many issues. The most important matter was climate change. They all agreed at capping global warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius level. Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi thanked climate activists for pushing world leaders into action.
Many of the activists, which by the way I thank because they sort of pushing us, they keep us all on the job.
The leaders also vowed to achieve net zero carbon by 2050. France will no longer let British fishing boats enter French ports as of Tuesday. The actions follows a controversial post-Brexit fishing rights rule. 3 or 4 ports will remain open until the full number of closures occur in the coming weeks. France and England have long feuded over fishing rights. This latest problem follows a British ship entering a French port without approval of the European Union. Disneyland in Shanghai, China, shut down after a woman tested positive for COVID-19 prior to entering the park. Thousands gathered at the park to celebrate Disney Halloween party when the gates closed. Healthcare workers came dressed in white protective suits to the site. Guests weren't allowed to leave the park until they got tested. Officials tested more than 30,000 guests. They all tested negative. Chinese officials are going to great lengths to trace and contain the spread of the virus. The Shanghai Disney Resort says those guests are required to take another test after 24 hours. The country of Tonga, located in the South Pacific, just had its first COVID case last week. They're now preparing for their first potential lockdown. Tonga is one of the few countries not to have reported any COVID cases since the start of the pandemic. The positive case came from a person who traveled to New Zealand. The Prime Minister ordered all airport staff who were in contact with the person to quarantine. Thousands of residents have rushed to vaccination centers to get their COVID shots. Back to you in Studio A, Jeannie.
For more than a century, Larchmont Boulevard has played a historic role in the community. Our reporter Mary Peronian reports on how families and neighborhood friends gathered to support small businesses on Larchmont Boulevard and to celebrate the centennial birthday of the block.
The corner of Beverly and Larchmont is a local favorite spot for many Angelinos. It's a place where families and friends can gather for lunch and check out the Larchmont Farmers Market every Sunday. This year, the Larchmont Boulevard Association and community leaders gathered with neighbors to symbolically celebrate the centennial birthday of the shopping block.
I'm just incredibly grateful.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
It's really a challenging time for people in the retail business, so we hope that people will support the stores and the businesses on Larchmont.
Hundreds of small businesses build their brands by setting up their handmade creations like organic fruits and vegetables, pastries, flowers, jewelry, and much more. Carlos Vega moved from Argentina many years ago. He started Color Corners in 2017, making handmade acrylic artwork from his apartment.
It's all about a technique that I developed. It's about fluid acrylics, and I use a different paints.
Larchmont Boulevard continues to thrive every Sunday as more and more small businesses get the business they need to grow. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Mary Peronian.
American Airlines said weather and staffing shortages forced it to cancel more than 1,700 flights during the Halloween weekend. The cancellations are part of the months-long struggle airlines have faced while getting back to normal during the pandemic. Weather and staffing shortages are the same reasons American Airlines canceled 1,000 flights in July.
I'm sure it's terrible for a lot of people. They have places to be and family to be with, and as do I. I have to go to work tomorrow, so.
American Airlines isn't the only one having problems. Spirit Airlines canceled hundreds of flights in a single day in August. Reactions to the canceled flights has been brutal on social media. Photos show long lines of people waiting to rebook flights.
Facebook is changing its company name to Meta. However, the app itself will still be called Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg announced the news last week.
Our mission remains the same. It's still about bringing people together. Our apps and their brands, they're not changing either. And we are still the company that designs technology around people.
The name change is supposed to represent the company's shift to focus on the metaverse. The idea is that the company will now be seen as a tech innovator focused on creating the future of online interaction. The rebranding comes after a whistleblower leaked documents showing that Facebook put profits before people. The whistleblower alleged that Facebook didn't try to stop misinformation and hate speech, especially during and after the January 6th Capitol riot. The company will trade under the ticker MVRS on December 1st.
Costco's new starting pay will be $17 an hour. It's the second pay increase this year for Costco workers. In February, their minimum wage rose to $16 an hour. Costco has the lowest turnover rates in retail. Their new pay hike means their minimum wage is higher than Amazon, Target, and Walmart. However, Costco isn't the only company that's raising its wages in order to compete for a few workers. Starbucks will raise salaries in January. Their minimum wage pay increase won't take effect until the summer. The Starbucks minimum wage will become $15 an hour.
The State Department issued the first U.S. passport with an X-gender marker. Officials announced the move last Wednesday, saying state wants to have gender-inclusive policies. The department also says they're updating procedures to allow applicants to self-select their sex marker for passports. They also say they will no longer require medical certification. The option with the new marker will be offered to routine passport applicants in early 2022. The U.S. joins Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and other countries with similar gender-inclusive passport policies.
John Deere and the United Auto Workers Union reached a labor agreement Saturday. The deal addresses better economic opportunity, higher quality health care, and more fair pensions. 10,000 John Deere employees went on strike 2 weeks ago. The first agreement presented was rejected by 90% of the workforce on October 14th. The current version will cover more than 10,000 employees in 12 plants.
Don't throw out your pumpkins just yet. Valley View's Margot Rowe has the latest on why throwing out your pumpkins might not be the best idea.
Whether they're for carving scary faces or baking pies, pumpkins become a global phenomenon during the fall. However, most people don't consider the environmental impact that pumpkins have. Carolyn Tapia of Tapia Farms tries to make the most of leftover pumpkins to avoid them ending up in a landfill.
We have somebody that comes in and picks up what's left and feeds their cattle, so nothing goes to waste.
The USDA estimates more than 1 billion pumpkins are produced each fall, and majority are thrown out every year. Gardener Pilar Velasquez says such waste is irresponsible financially and environmentally since pumpkins emit a methane gas when decomposing.
It's so sad to me because there's so much food you could make using those pumpkins.
As a mother of 4 with food prices increasing, Velasquez says she always finds new and classic recipes to get the most use out of the pumpkins.
We make pumpkin seeds like many people do at Halloween and Thanksgiving time. But then with the rest of the pumpkin, we use it, I bake it, I puree it, we use it in soups, we use it in pasta sauces.
Reporting for Valley View News from Encino, I'm Margot Rowe.
When we come back, Angelenos celebrate the Day of the Dead at the Hollywood Cemetery. Also, Alec Baldwin speaks about the deadly shooting on the set of Rust. Stay with us.
Did you put a new dent in that? This one? No. Were you texting and driving again? Yes.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, Dad.
Sorry about your bumper.
When you're running your own business and taking care of your disabled brother, you tend to learn about responsibility pretty quickly.
Alec Baldwin addressed cameras for the first time following the tragic death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. The actor appeared distressed, asserting he couldn't disclose details about the developing case.
By the Sheriff's Department in Santa Fe, I can't answer any questions about the investigation. I can't. It's an active investigation in terms of a woman died. She was my friend. She was my friend.
The 63-year-old referred to the fatal on-set shooting as a one-in-a-trillion episode. Regarding growing efforts to ban firearms from productions, Baldwin said he lacked expertise in the field, but would favor regulations that support the safety of cast and crews.
Former Blackhawks player Kyle Beach revealed he filed a sexual assault lawsuit against the Chicago hockey team. He sued the organization this summer under a John Doe alias for mishandling complaints made in 2010. Beach alleged team officials ignored his pleas after then video coach Brad Aldrich sexually assaulted him. The 31-year-old went public a day after an investigation confirmed the events. Following the report, Blackhawks general manager Stan Bowman and Al McIsaac, senior VP of hockey operations, left the organization.
Reality TV personality Jim Bob Duggar is making a return to politics. The Arkansas native is running for state senate. Duggar starred in the popular show 19 Kids and Counting between 2008 and 2015. From 1998 to 2002, he was a member of the Arkansas House of Representatives. But controversy follows Duggar. His son, Josh, was arrested and indicted on charges of child pornography in April. The 33-year-old is facing up to 20 years in prison and $250,000 in fines.
One of 3 men charged in connection with Mac Miller's death agreed to plead guilty and accept a 17-year prison sentence. Stephen Andrew Walter, 42, supplied fentanyl-laced counterfeit oxycodone pills to Miller, who died of a drug overdose in 2018 at age 26. Under the deal, his grand jury indictment would be waived. He would also only plead to 1 new charge of fentanyl distribution. This would take the place of previous charges. They included fentanyl distribution resulting in death and conspiracy to distribute a controlled substance that resulted in death. Walter is expected to change his plea on November 8th, pending a judge's approval.
Hollywood Forever Cemetery hosted their 22nd annual Day of the Dead event this weekend. Valley View's Cynthia Puga has the details.
El Dia de los Muertos festival at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery returned last weekend. Before the pandemic, this was an annual event for 22 years. Las ofrendas, also known as the altars, are built with fruits, sweetbread, sugar skulls, marigolds, and dishes their loved ones enjoyed in the past.
You know, just to welcome them back and tell them that we're here, that they're always in our memories. And it's just a celebration, a way to remember them in their joyful time.
Many people get into the spirit by wearing a flower crown on their heads and painting their faces. Professional dancer Angeles Gonzalez says this was her first year attending the event.
I love this event. It's the first time that I came here, but I'm so glad to be here. I came here with Cielito Lindo. It's a folkloric group from here, from California.
This is LA's biggest Day of the Dead event. Dia de los Muertos is celebrated from October 31st to November 2nd. Cynthia Jimenez says she's been doing this tradition for 5 years.
To create an altar at home, and then when she passed away, she's resting here now at Hollywood Forever, so we started participating in this big event.
The Day of the Dead isn't just part of the Hispanic culture. It is an event that brings people together from all walks of life. Reporting for Valley View News, I'm Cynthia Puga.
Chicano art is not only showcased during Day of the Dead. In LA, Chicano art is showcased all year. During September, creativity was on full display at an event supporting LA street food vendors. Our reporter Melody Soto was there.
Performers, artists, and artisans were on a mission Saturday at Chicano Art Day. Gloria Marquez, an organizer and SoCal Brown Beret member, says fundraising for street vendors brought crowds together to focus on a recent violent crime wave.
We need to wake up and speak up and stand up for each other, because if we don't, nobody else will.
In May, Elio Ramirez was verbally and physically harassed in Long Beach. Also, his merchandise was destroyed. He says he didn't expect the community would rally behind him to get him back on his feet.
Yo en estos eventos me siento feliz, me siento contento porque hay muchas personas que están detrás de nosotros, siempre están dispuestos a ayudarnos ellos.
Rapping, dancing, and the spoken word were also showcased on Chicano Art Day. Stand-up comedian Victor Zapata says he also wanted to show his support by performing.
We all bring something good to the table. You only know how strong a people is when we are united, when we're together. And these kind of events are what brings us together.
With the success of Chicano Art Day, organizers say they aim to create more community events in the future. Reporting from Los Angeles for Valley View News, I'm Melody Soto.
Celtics player Enes Kanter continued his criticism of China, calling President Xi Jinping an insecure tyrant. The NBA athlete began slamming the country's human rights infringements on social media last month, after Kanter referred to Jinping as a brutal dictator and promoted a free Tibet. Celtics games were removed from Chinese broadcast. In a recent tweet, the 29-year-old advocated for the 2022 Winter Olympics to be relocated. Kanter also condemned Nike for turning a blind eye on Chinese forced labor. The shoe brand and the NBA have yet to comment.
A $100 million project seeks to transform a 1.3-mile section of Crenshaw Boulevard with 100 sculptures by Black creatives. The Art and Park initiative, called Destination Crenshaw, will serve as a cultural hub for locals. The LA Cultural Affairs Commission greenlit the first 7 designs. They're expected to be completed next fall. Artist Kahinde Wiley, who painted Barack Obama's presidential portrait, is part of the initial group. The 100 sculptures are scheduled to be constructed over the next 6 years. Destination Crenshaw is funded by public and private grants.
Danny Trejo is the latest celebrity to be immortalized at Madame Tussauds. The Chicano actor is best known for starring in action flicks including Machete, Desperado, and From Dusk Till Dawn. Wax artists worked more than 6 months to recreate Trejo's signature flexing pose and tattoos. The 77-year-old said he was humbled by the experience. Trejo details his unconventional path to stardom in his memoir, My Life of Crime, Redemption, and Hollywood. The actor will be signing books November 8th at the TCL Chinese Theater.
Scientists believe they found a new planet outside of the Milky Way. This could be the first time one has been discovered outside our solar system. The unnamed planet is about the size of Saturn. It was spotted on the spiral galaxy Messier 51, about 28 million light years away from Earth. NASA scientists used the ultra-powerful Chandra X-ray Observatory's telescope for the discovery.
That's all for us at Valley View News. I'm Jeannie Rodriguez.
And I'm Elizabeth Medina. For stories any time of the day, go to our website, csunvalleyview.edu. Thanks for watching.